Now, who is Darren Michael Boyd? The belligerent tone of Darren's guitar playing pays tribute to the rock giants from days gone by that inspired him to pick up the six-string instrument. In the past, Darren has toured and recorded with various artists including Black Juju, Creeping Beauty and Famous Underground with Juno Award-winning vocalist Nick Walsh. He was invited on multiple occasions to privately audition for the platinum-selling artist Fifi Dobson and was also asked to write songs for Alice Cooper bassist Chuck Garrick's side band Beasto Blanco. Darren received a scholarship to attend a week in Toronto in the summer of 2007 at the Guitar Workshop Plus with some of the best players in the business as instructors, including Paul Gilbert, Billy Sheehan and Sue Foley. In the winter of 2019, he was given an honourable mention by ASCAP for his first instrumental release, This Song Won't Get Played on the Radio. He has shared the stage with many classic and current acts such as One Eyed Doll, Wednesday 13, Yngwie Malmsteen, Striper, Stitched Up Heart, Beasto Blanco and Lee Aaron, and that's to name but a few. He released his debut instrumental album entitled Lifting the Curse in 2019 as a form of therapy following a life-altering car accident. Recorded and produced by Darren himself, he performed all of the instruments on the album except for one track, Was It Something I Said, which features drums by Emily Dolan Davis of The Darkness and Kim Wilde. Fast forward to 2023 and Darren is back with his new EP, The G-String Murders, on a new label for him, namely Sliptrick Records. We caught up with Darren in Ontario, Canada, to discuss the EP, his musical influences and his plans for the future.
and check. Was I had to update some stuff with Skype because I didn't use it in a while.
Yeah, and it has had a lot of updates just lately.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's too early in the morning for me.
Oh, thank you for taking the time so early in the morning to talk to me.
Oh, it's fine. It's not that early, but it's yeah, it's an early start. I don't
It's
if
rock
you
star early.
that's right. My
Oh,
my cat here, his name is Bing, and so it was just funny because when the Skype came up, I was like, "Hey, Bing Bong," because he jumped up here, and then Bing. There's like a thing that pops up, like I guess it's Bing. Uh,
yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but I'm like, "What's it listening?" I wasn't talking to you. It was really weird. Yeah.
And we've got a black cat, and I think she's wishing didn't have fur at the mum because it's so hot in the UK.
Oh, it's hot, right? It's weird. It's cloudy and raining and that, but it's still really humid. And we have
Yeah.
a we have three Sphinx cats and one furry cat, and
Oh,
he just sort of it's like. But the funny thing is that the bald ones have to get under the covers. I'm like, they just like to bake themselves.
oh,
Yeah,
cute. So
yeah.
anyway, Darren, how have you been, my lovely?
I've been busy. I'm very
That's all
busy.
about it.
And I've been meaning to ask you, like, how do you like to be addressed? Because I have like several different handles for you, and I never know what to call you. So,
I'm Carrie-Anne Grove, but Roxy's
okay,
my a nickname that's been around for a while because of
okay,
Rox. You know, so everybody calls me Roxy.
sure, okay. Yeah, I just didn't want to be calling you the wrong thing, and
No, that's fine. That's
yeah.
fine. It's just a nickname that kind of stuck now, so I carried on using it.
Yeah.
So what you been up to?
Well, yeah, it's been a busy, um, good and bad. It's been quite a year already. Like right at the beginning of the year. I'm trying to think of how things even started, but my mom passed away in February,
Oh,
and yeah,
condolences.
thank you. It was just one of those, I mean, she'd been ill for a while, but no matter what, you don't expect that,
No, no,
at
you
that time.
don't.
And right at that time, or a little before, I'd signed with Sliptrick Records, so a label out of
A good label.
yeah. That well, they've been talking to me for about a year, and I was sort of, I was not. I don't want to say skeptical, but nowadays you have to know, like, if I'm doing this, why am I doing it, right? I mean, are
Absolutely.
they?
Yeah.
What can they bring to me that I can't do myself?
Mm.
And so we had a few like face to face like this conversations and stuff, and they were real accommodating and I was like, okay. And what also got me was that they worked with a lot of Japanese artists that I love.
Mm.
So I was kind of like, okay, that's one of those things that if the
Yeah.
roster has some artists that you like, then that helps. Um, so what happened was I was planning on doing 3 or 4 EPs that were digital throughout the year, just like one after another kind of thing, and then to compile them with some new music and then release a full length CD in October.
Mm.
Uh, but of course, with my mom losing my mom and everything, like
Yeah.
life does not go in the way you think it will. So that kind of knocked everything down to one EP, which is coming out July 1st. So like right around the corner, and I'm excited about that because it's been done for a while, and then what I'm doing is one full CD in October. So um, I'd say that that's still pretty productive. That's not bad.
It
Yeah,
certainly is. You've not.
yeah.
So tell me about this first EP that's coming out. What's it called, and
Uh,
what's the background to it?
okay, it's called the G String Murders, and it's got a pretty bloody, I think, hilarious cover.
Yeah.
And the cover, have you seen the cover, the artwork? I
I
think yeah,
did.
you must
Yeah.
have, yes. And it's the amusing thing to me is people who've been following my solo career for the 5 or so years I've been doing this. know that what launched that whole thing in the first place was a car accident that I had. And in the car accident, I had a guitar that was smashed up. And the cover, that's the guitar. That's the Les Paul that you see with the headstock is off and the strings and everything. So I'm like, I finally have a use for this guitar other than bad memories, you know? So that was kind of it. And then there's so many things that, like, you know, people can think of the title. It can evoke a lot of different things, right? Like there are different double meanings and stuff. And if you play a Les Paul, you know that you sometimes want to murder it because it's always the G string that goes out. So that was kind of the guitar player joke, right? And you play guitar, right?
I do, yeah,
you're a guitar player.
Ibanez, I'm on, so.
I remember, yes.
Yeah, but if it's any consolation, a lot of Ibanez's, it's the B string.
Right, yeah.
So
I
go
have
figure.
I have one Ibanez. No, I have two because I have a 12 string as well. And funny enough, that 12 string acoustic, it's beautiful. It was given to me.
Oh, they're fantastic guitars.
Yeah, it was just given to me because the headstock was broken and they fixed it. And it still plays fine, stays in tune pretty well. Like for a 12 string, that's, you know, 12 strings going out is a pain in the butt. You don't want that. But I don't think I've used it in any recordings. I probably should. I'm working on the new album now, so I have time. Well, I say I have time, but this is the thing of working with a label that's different from doing it yourself, is like they want everything well in advance. And so I have to have this finished really by August, and I have a lot to do. So yeah, and this happens to be my busy season for my business and just like running around. So, you know, me and my big mouth, I'm like, yeah, I'll manage. And then, you know, like I have this thing of sabotaging myself. Like, I have to, like, better get on it, you know. And,
I have every confidence that you'll make the deadline.
Yeah,
No
I hope
problem.
So. Yeah, and it's been a good year for music, I think, like for guitar players and stuff. Like, you know, Nuno's been kicking down doors. He's like on every magazine cover and everything. And I'm kind of going, what, you guys just realized that, you know, he was brilliant? You didn't know that before, you know, but I guess that's good because there are a lot of people who probably didn't know, like younger people or people who weren't familiar with.
They're just sort of realizing a lot of the guitar greats from the 80s and 90s shred eras, and they're just kind of. I mean, Marty's back in the picture again now.
That's true. Yeah, so,
I do think it's a bit of a renaissance for guitar music. So your timing is impeccable.
I hope, that'd be the first time in my life. But actually, it's a really good thing though, because like people like Nuno bringing like the attention to that kind of playing. And I mean, it's a question I always ask guitar players. I'll ask you too. Why is it that I mean, I'm not a total shred player or anything like that. I have my moments, but it's not really what I do. But that's okay. I love all kinds of guitar. And I will always defend those people who want to shred and play fast. And
we've all got our own styles.
Yeah, and my thought is, why is it that electric distorted guitar is the only instrument or only genre I've ever heard people criticize the way they do? Other guitar players, there's no feeling. Piano, you could play it fast, nobody has a problem with it. Violin, you know, and look back at the days with like Chet Atkins and you know, Jerry Reed, Rock Around the Clock, all of these like shred stuff, you know, and that was way before, you know, and nobody ever had a problem with that. But for some reason, if you play fast guitar, you have no feeling, and it's kind of stupid. It's like you may not relate, and that's okay if you don't relate. But to say there's no feeling is like,
I wish I had an answer, but I genuinely don't. It's just I don't know whether there's some element of jealousy apart from some who they see people really virtuosic, Anyway, fast.
Fast, yes, that's it. Yeah,
And they think, well, no. You see, I play slow, but I play with feeling. That sort of
right.
mentality, or whether it's just what the guitar represents, which is, I don't know. It's a lot more of a sexual thing, isn't it? In a way, than
I guess.
the piano. They're kind of like pianists, and they sit down and they're very upright, and
Yeah,
and it's all,
yeah.
oh yeah, you expect him to do wonderful things, and
Yeah.
when a guitarist does it, it's like, yeah, ego.
Yeah. But
It's
remember,
weird.
like, Jerry Lee Lewis or somebody who was like playing the
They
piano like
really
a,
ripped it up.
yeah, it was more like a sport. He was
Yeah.
so, but that's like rock. I mean, especially in the '80s when you had guys like Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan. Like the David Lee Roth thing, that whole where they were very athletic and running all over the place, and both virtuosos on their instrument as well. So it was
Mhm.
you got everything. And all that to say, I'm not stuck. Like some people kind of
No,
live in nostalgia, and it's powerful. I like to revisit sometimes, but I don't live there. Like I
no,
still I
no.
find new artists that like almost every week. I'm finding somebody that I just sort of become obsessed with and excited about. And I don't know, you can't chase that feeling from you'll always be chasing it in nostalgia, but you can still get it in real time now. There's so many great,
Absolutely.
and when I say great players, it's not just that they're like it's not about how great they are in the instrument, it's relatability, right? They just
Absolutely, it is.
it's something. I mean, the Ramones were could barely play, but they're still inspired so many people, right? And
It's how you put it across, isn't it? It's if you haven't got a personality, and if you haven't got showmanship or putzbar or whatever you want to call it, if you
yeah,
haven't got it, then I think it matters whether you can play well, play fast, or
yeah,
anything really.
yeah.
It is an art form, and it encompasses everything in life, doesn't it? Really?
True. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is. Yeah, well, I mean, that's it with art, right? It has to
Yeah,
be something
absolutely.
that speaks to the viewer, the listener, the audience, I guess.
So
Yeah.
how
Something. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go on.
Well, I just wanted to say before I forgot that the weirdest thing I think I mentioned it to you, uh, that I know we kind of, I think we share a little bit of, you're more, what would I say, professional in the witch realm, right? I know because I saw it, and
good
I'm
memory, yeah.
I'm more well because I share that I'm far more, I guess, unschooled solitary, but that's where my spiritual. I mean, you watch my videos and like any of
Yeah,
my stuff, and you
yeah.
can kind of feel it, right? It's not just a aesthetic. It's like it's
Yeah,
me. But,
absolutely.
but here's the weird part, and this is kind of one of those like spooky things, is that I was sending to I had this little list, like a spreadsheet of people I need to contact about the upcoming EP and just sort of reconnect with. And you weren't like first in the order of the list, but you were just
Mm,
like, oh, I clicked on your email. I had the window open. I started to email. So I think I told you the story, but anybody
mm.
watching or would be, this is weird. And I got a notification right at that moment that you'd said that you were playing one of the songs on your
Yeah.
radio show. Um, which is weird too, because that's how I could tell that the label was doing something, because it was a song that I never. It was from the new EP that nobody else had.
Hmm.
had so that was because of them, not me. But so weird that I got the notification because you sent it through my Facebook page, which never gives me notifications.
Hmm.
That's why I barely use it, because I don't get. It's just the weirdest thing.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, so really strange that at that very moment you'd sent me a message, and I don't know if like I see you on social media and stuff, but we haven't really spoken in probably, I don't
No,
know,
we
a
haven't.
year
No.
or something. And so that was kind
Yeah.
of weird and cool.
Oh, witches are all connected. We're
I think
all connected
was
with
the
one
first
big
thing I thought
family.
was how, like, I'm going, okay, was that you somehow making me email you, think of you, or was it me? How did this happen?
Who knows how the universe works?
I know it was cool though. I thought it was a cool feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's talk gear, because whenever I talk to a guitarist who loves gear, I've got to talk about gear.
Sure.
On the new EP, what are you using?
I am using my red Les Paul Jr. I think it's back there.
Very
That's
nice.
I use that most of the time on a lot of stuff. It needs new strings now, but in fact, that's as a guitar player or a musician, it's one of those like, slap the wrist thing, because I can tell you that at least the last album, maybe even the last two, I've recorded the bass tracks with my, it's back there somewhere, my Fender Precision bass, which I mean, I don't know that I would want to use anything else. It's
That's the
perfect
one.
for it's the one. But I haven't changed the strings. So I recorded basically 2 albums with probably dead strings. I'm sure bass players are just like, what, what's wrong with you? So I changed them and I went, oh wow, this is like duh, right?
New experience.
Yeah, I mean, guitars, it's weird because I think guitar players, we're so used to just kind of like, we can tweak things because we're using so much effects and distortion and whatnot and plugins. And with the bass, I guess there's like an attack. There's this almost percussive thing, and it really makes a difference. So I'm using the precision bass, the red Les Paul. I'm using I had to look at a Jackson 7-string. I don't do a lot of 7-string stuff, but
no.
I kind of, because my style, again, it's not like gent stuff or crazy shred with all these wild arpeggios. I kind of dabble in everything, I think, a little bit. So you might hear a bit of that, but I just, I kind of, a lot of the bands I like use 7 strings. Like I love Unlucky Morpheus, and they use 7 strings, and I kind of like the I don't know, the way they use it. It's kind of like when they hit one chord and it just kind of rings this. Now, of course, they have a violin player, and they don't, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Unlucky Morpheus, but Japanese band, one of my favorites. And the drummer, Fumiya, is one of the most awesome drummers ever. But these guys, it's not like a lot of modern metal. Like they do some crazy, harmony leads and like pretty wild stuff. Amazing vocalist who happened to be in one of the bands that were signed to Sliptrick. They've sort of went in different. It was kind of like a band combined of bands, and then they're off doing other bands again. But that was, yeah. And speaking of drummers and being obsessed with musicians, have you heard of this girl named Juna? She's just, anybody watching, just search Juna drummer, Junna. I think she's like 20 or something. She's a Japanese drummer, and I've never seen, or if it's just one of those things where I've never seen anything like it. I mean, yes, there are some great drummers. Don't get me wrong. It's not a competition. I'm not saying she's the best drummer, but I just, it's like, this is, when you see somebody and they just are music, like she just is. It's like, how is she playing like that? It's amazing. So that's worth checking out.
Check that out. Thank you.
So most of my gear this time around, and a lot of times I'm using plugins. I kind of like a bit of a hybrid where I will use my rig and I'll blend it if I want a bit of a combination. But you get to the point where it's all there. I'm not somebody who just uses a plugin and like stock and doesn't change. I dabble. Like, I'm like, I need a bit more of this and a bit. At first, I think I was pretty stock. Because I'm like, oh, that one sounds good. It's because I didn't know any better, right? After you do it a while, you start to learn what you can do, and
I think we tend to get overwhelmed as well, don't we? Guitarists could be quite sort of blinkered in some ways, and the more options we get, the more we're like,
yeah, and watching like, oh, that's one of the worst things, worst and best. I mean, it is fun to watch gear videos on YouTube and stuff, and it is fun or educational to watch videos on production. So I mean, that's how I learned how to do things, really, is trial and error and watching YouTube videos. And I'm still, I feel like I'm in the infancy of what I can do with what I have in front of me. But yeah, you can end up going, oh, I'm sold on that piece of gear. I need to go and buy it. And like, just, I have a pile of pedals just sitting there going, wow,
I know.
And then I can't part with them. It's like, I might need it. It might, like there might be some time, but yeah, I don't know. I like effects, but I'm not one of these people that wants to tap dance on effects pedals all night. There's some players. I saw Jared James Nichols. Nichols. Yeah, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's from the South in the U.S. and he's a great player. He's
a good player. He's really got the blues and that kind of delta slide thing down.
Yeah, and he plays with his fingers, like he doesn't use a pick. Richie Kotzen also famously does that, and he's really good. But it's the weirdest thing. I saw him play live, and I was like, "This sounds so great!" And he's basically just plugged in, from the guitar into the amp, fingers, and it's like, I mean, it's been said, but really, it honestly is, in the fingers. You can.
It is.
The more stuff that you use, the more you're kind of hiding, like what you're trying to get across. So I like effects, but I don't want to be like, I don't know, the Edge or something, which is cool, but it's not me.
He's good at what he does.
Absolutely.
And credit to the guy. And I mean, a lot of
because
people
he's creative with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like Andy Summers. Andy Summers was never going to say he's the best guitarist in the world, but the way he uses, echoplexes and the way he uses reverbs and everything to get that sound that he wants, that's
and you recognize it, right? You hear it and you go, well, that's Andy Summers.
You know him straight away.
Yeah, and I always think that's one of the great things about the instrument too, right? Like
we've all got our voice.
It is. It's like a voice. It's so individual, and I always say that, like, we're all playing the same. Even the guys with the same tunings, you could plug in the same amp, and you still sound like you. And Brian May. It doesn't matter what he does; he sounds like Brian May.
And he's another one that doesn't use a lot of effects. It's mostly the ones that are kind of built into his guitar, which is like just more or less pickups in and out of phase.
It's just pretty wild.
And all of a sudden out comes the Queen sound, and you just think, hey? You just put the pickups out of phase, and that happened. That's incredible.
Well, I remember doing "We Will Rock You" the play. I don't know.
Yes,
So I did that for. It's a small. What wasn't like a big tour or something, but it was sold out with whatever 5 nights or whatever it was we did, and I was the only guitar player, and I think the one that was in London or something had 4 guitar players or something, which makes sense because they're doing it live. And you want all those harmonies and all those parts and that. I used a harmonizer a little bit, but it can only do so much.
It can, yeah.
And so, but I don't think it was, for our purposes, I don't think it was missed. It was okay. But I tried, I was like trying to match tones. I'd watched a few videos on how to get the sound and everything. And ultimately, I don't think I really did much to change what I sound like, other than to just try to play the best I could. And but you know what? Here's the crazy thing: is we would play for the encore was the Bohemian Rhapsody. So the play was over. We'd do Bohemian Rhapsody, and when I played the solo every night, there was a standing ovation because people realized it was like everybody was just watching the stage.
Yeah.
The band was sort of in a pit, and it's sort of an afterthought in a way. And then once I started playing it, they put the spotlight on me, and then people kind of went, somebody's actually playing that, right?
Yeah.
And people lost their minds. And I probably didn't play it as well as I could. Now I still second guess myself now. I'm like, how much of a
That's human
bend was
nature.
that?
Yeah.
It's but I think it's the spirit. If you play it with some like you mean it, I think
That's
that's what
right.
matters.
Yeah.
Because that's how Brian plays it. He's
Well, you hear so many people down there desperate to find that exact tone of something, or they used a particular valve, and that will make me sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan because you use that valve, and
yeah
you'll never be Stevie Ray Vaughan or sound like you. Sound like you, and
yeah
you should be proud of that fact. You
embrace
are
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably one of the I don't know if I was smart or insightful or what I was when I was a teenager and I was playing the guitar. I don't know, but I will give myself some credit for this vision, which was
Mm.
that I didn't want to learn all of my favorite guitar players' stuff. Like I would listen to Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen and Mick Mars. I wasn't just about like crazy great players. I just
No,
liked
the
right.
riffs.
And and I took inspiration from all of it, but I didn't want to learn. I don't know, maybe there was part of me that felt like when you learn it, the magic goes away or something.
Yeah.
But I think there was also part of me that knew, because I had friends in high school. You have other people that play guitar, and like it's like some people would learn every AC/DC riff or whatever, and then when their band got together and they write a song, I'm like, well, it sounds like an imitation of AC/DC.
Yeah,
And I didn't
absolutely.
want that. I didn't want to be an imitation of anything. So I was kind of smart in that way. I have to give myself some credit because I don't think a lot of teenagers have that insight. Because when I was
No,
like,
no,
I
they're
always wanted to
desperate to
write
learn
songs.
songs
Yeah,
because their mates have learned songs. I think you're desperate to
yeah,
impress, but I think some people do take it too far, and
yeah,
I mean, the number of people I've sort of taught over the years and taught them bits and pieces. It's always, I only want to learn so and so song, and I say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to teach you the building blocks of playing guitar. Because
yeah,
sooner or later you're going to want to play something else, and
yeah,
I don't want you keep coming back saying I've heard so and so and now I want to learn that.
yeah. Well, and
Learn the basics.
I think that's it too. I figured. Um, I think what it was when I was really young, like 7 or so, I was so into Alice Cooper. It hasn't
Mm.
changed. I'm still into Alice. It's never changed
Oh
at
yeah,
all. But I was into Kiss and all this. I mean, they were my superheroes, right? I was a little kid, and
yeah,
and even though I couldn't really play an instrument, I think I knew that I wanted to be like that, but I didn't want. I mean, joining Kiss wasn't an option, right? So maybe it was just all those years before I actually got to the guitar that it was in my head of like, because I was already
yeah.
trying to write songs
Mm.
without any knowledge of how to do so. I just knew I had to write my own lyrics and write so
Yeah.
I think maybe that's part of what it was. But I think, yeah, I mean, the guitar has that, uh, I don't know how to explain it. There's something that even though we have those 12 notes, we can really
All
still have
sorts with it.
we can do so much, and
Yeah.
that's to me what I want to do. I don't There's so many instrumental guitar players coming out and like releasing music, and this is different than it was even a few years ago. Like
Hmm.
we didn't have a lot of that. I don't Not, at least not that I know. Maybe there was, but
There was only
um
so many record labels I think that were willing to carry guitar instrumental music.
yeah,
Roadrunner being one, Shrapnel, and ones like that would pick up, and
yeah,
Relativity, of course. But
yeah. I
um,
talked to somebody from what was the one that used to put out all the instrumental guitar in the 80s. They were so, because they
oh well,
what's his
Roadrunner
name?
did pick up a few through the Guitar Master series, and IRS did a hell of a lot. Uh,
Yeah,
um,
there's a big one, and I talked to the guy recently because he's basically just not doing that anymore.
yeah,
And you know, it's not an easy thing, right? And being a
it's not,
label
no.
or a musician, really. But I
Mm,
think it's exciting though that just sort of a feeling. I might be off the mark here, but it seems like there have been so many YouTuber, Instagram, TikTok guitar
Yeah.
players, and some of them are just so good. They really are amazing. But there's a point of like, how far can you go with that?
Yeah.
I mean, they can have a career that'll just keep going, I guess. But
Mm.
there is a point of like, are you going to make music? Like, are you going to do something that will
Exactly.
be a reason to connect with people and go out and tour? Or
Yeah.
some people don't want to, and that's okay too.
No,
But I think
no.
some of those people now are putting out albums. So maybe they just feel like a lot of us as musicians feel like we want, we want this,
Yeah.
we want something, to say, this is what I
Yeah.
did, and,
Mm.
and for me, as far as the style, um, I mean, some of it has enough to satisfy the shred people, like
Mm.
a bit, but there's a lot of quirky stuff going on, and I feel like, again, to go back to people like Slash or Mick Mars or Angus Young, or the like, Malmsteen, for example, is brilliant, but you know he's a guitar god, I would say. But the
Yeah.
guitar heroes are different. Like
Are the
they're
ones that made
that
people move.
inspire people
Yeah.
to pick up a guitar. I mean, Malmsteen's done that too, but
Mm.
I who's playing stadiums and who's playing clubs or theaters or whatever. And that's
Exactly.
I'm not dissing anybody. I'm just saying there is a
No, no, you are
um,
right.
and
Being
they'd be the first people to say that, right? I'm sure. Like, if everybody's Steve Vai, nobody's Steve Vai, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's right,
like,
and I think there is an art and a skill to performing in a band. It's knowing where you are in the mix. It's knowing where you are in the time signatures, when to shut up.
Yeah, and that's what I've always done. Like this instrumental, journey is not. It's never been. Um, it's never been something that I've been going, oh, I can't. I'm going to do that. Like, it was just never. Mainly because I think I was afraid that everybody was going to go, well, he's no John Five, or he's no like Steve Vai, like that. People would have that mentality, but
Yeah,
fortunately, I haven't really received any of that. People seem to get it.
good.
They know this is where. Of course, it's not like I'm world famous or anything. I think the bigger you get, the more haters you get, right? And
Well,
I mean, I don't care really. Like, people hate on Freddie Mercury. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah.
you
Let him get
can't.
on there.
Yeah, like I don't think there's any way to escape that. It's unrealistic to assume everybody's going to love what you do, no matter how good you are. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Let's get back
Yeah.
to music, because I mean, I could
Okay.
talk to you. I've talked to guitars all night, and then
I know.
Sliptrick will go the album.
The album. Yeah. What's he
um,
talking about? Yeah.
um, is it? Are you how is it easy for you to sort of separate the EP writing process and then and looking at the album at the same time and thinking, this is for the EP, this is later, I want this on the album? Is there any
Oh.
competition between the two and overlap?
Well, it's interesting. 'Cause I think I mentioned at the beginning that was what I was planning to do, was a few EPs and then compile them.
Yeah.
And I think the doing the EP was a great experience, because it was almost liberating, because I felt like, instead of trying to do something at the end of the year where you know, I'm sort of just continuously creating. And the only thing I think that's a little bit of, I don't know what the word would be, not a conflict or anything, but when you're writing, um, like, let's say you have too many songs that are like mid-tempo songs or something, and it's like, okay, well, this works, but then by the time you compile them, oh, why do I have like 6 ballads or something? Like, you have to
Yeah.
kind of go, all right, how is this going to all fit together? But for the most part, I work on thinking these 4 songs have to be balanced, and that's how I chose them, because I had other ones that I was already working on that will go hopefully onto the album. But it was like, if they are like, even in those 4 songs, there's quite a lot of contrast between all of them.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't know. I'm the first listener, right? So I'm the guy listening
Yeah.
to it, going, "All right, am I listening to this in the order that they should be?" I mean, it's digital, right? So you never even know. People will take one song, put it on a playlist, or you don't
Yeah.
really know. So you want them to sound good on their own, I suppose. You know, like the song that you played on that was Racing for Pinks, which was like a
Yeah.
total weird surf vibe song. Was that something that you chose, or did they send that to
No,
you?
I chose it because
Okay.
because it was left field. It wasn't.
Sure.
You know, this is a guitar orientated song, and therefore, it's a, people that expect a certain formula to come out. Oh,
Yeah.
hello, beautiful.
Oh, and this is Bean. Bing was the other one. That's yeah.
So, but it isn't. It's a catchy. Oh, hang on, curtains are black. It's getting really windy here. Um,
Oh yeah.
um, it's catchy and it's got this surf vibe, and with it coming up to summer here in the UK,
Oh yeah.
you know, we tend to move away from the darker music into hey, it's summer. Let's have to, for the
Hey,
1 week that
that's
we
yeah.
have,
My
and
timing was good again. That's
yeah.
that's great.
So and I love the song, and I ultimately the one who picks the songs to play.
Okay, well, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I really, nobody told me that they're doing their thing, for promotion. They didn't tell me, hey, we're sending this out as a single, or we're just sending it all. I had no idea. So, but that's cool. I'm glad. And sometimes, see, a song like that, there was a point where I was almost thinking maybe it's a little, like you said, left field. Maybe I should wait for the album, because when you have like 10 or 11, 12 songs, the left field one, it's okay. Four
Mm.
songs, do you really want the left field one? But then I thought, no, I like it. That's people
It's a
at this
good song.
point. At this point, people kind of, the ones who already know me, kind of expect some quirky weirdness here and there. And then the
Mm.
people who don't know, like, this is the first one that's going on out on a label. So I'm going to be hitting a whole other market. I'm like, well,
Absolutely.
why would I hide what I am? Like, first impressions are important, but, I mean, any artist would say, no, you want your first impression to be what you are. Right. So,
Mhm.
um, the fact that you chose that song kind of gives me that affirmation that it was right.
That's
So
good to know. That's good.
yeah, yeah,
And we try
yeah,
to play stuff that we feel people are going to enjoy, and B, we know that it's a good song, and it doesn't matter whether it's left of field or a little bit don't understand it. It doesn't matter. It's a good song. You know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean? And I think there's a great potential for on that song as well for things like AM. People listening in the morning and
yeah,
drive time. A lot of people have particular moods, don't they, throughout the day when they want to listen to particular things. So
yeah,
don't be surprised if we don't put it on the AM show that we put out sometimes as well,
yeah.
because it's that kind of thing we love.
Yeah. And I think it's also one of those things where, um, why I like such a contrast on my
Mm,
albums is it's I don't feel the same way. Like I said, throughout the day or throughout
no,
my
you
life,
don't.
I want to hear different things. And one of the things that I don't know, it changed somewhere in the '90s, and it doesn't seem to have changed a lot. And what I mean by that is that somewhere along the way, um, bands, professional, like, signed artists, seem to be produced where, if you had a record and you put it on and you listen to a song and you took it and randomly flipped over and put on
Mm,
another song, they all kind of sound the same.
yeah,
Even if they sound great, they still kind of, like, it's like this band is this, and then we started
yeah.
getting in all these micro genres and stuff. And
Mm,
if I'm labeled as anything, it's that I'm hard to label, and that makes me happy, because when I grew up
absolutely.
listening to Alice Cooper, you had some pretty weird stuff on the same album,
Oh,
like
yeah.
really good extremes. And that's back there getting into
Cats.
cats. Cats
Mm,
have to get into trouble
yeah.
with, and And that's that's exactly what I want. I don't want to have
No,
sound
no,
like the same thing all the time.
absolutely. Are you considering any live shows?
Oh, yes, of course. And it's been, I don't know what it is. I think it's where I am. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like if I could go tour somewhere, like, I'd probably have better luck where you are. Um,
Mhm.
I would have better luck in Japan. I would have better luck in other places. Around here, it's hard to get a gig doing what I'm doing. I
Oh.
mean, yeah, and it's strange because what annoys me is that I've contacted a lot of clubs that
Mhm.
like and venues that places I played before in some cases. And I've been, not that it matters, and I'm not like trying to boost myself up or anything, but it's like I get nominated for pretty big awards
You
and
have?
stuff like
Yeah.
that. And again, I'm not like sitting here bragging about that. I'm just
No,
saying,
no,
like,
no.
when you send an email to a club and they don't even reply, like, it's kind of like, what the hell, right? Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to. You can just say thanks but no thanks, or okay, we
At
got your
least,
email
at
with it.
least say something.
But when they like, I was just telling somebody this the other day how it was irritating me because I sent out emails to a bunch of clubs at one point. It was just like this blitz where I was like looking towards the
Yeah,
summer,
yeah.
and nothing, not a single one, not one reply. And I'm thinking, actually, there was one. It was a summer festival, and they replied, but I haven't heard anything from them since. But and then there's one that's like a haunted attraction, and they do live stuff in the fall, and
Yeah.
they're interested. So that's right up my alley.
That's
That's great,
possible.
and that's probably a better gig than doing some
Mhm.
club anyway. But that's
Mhm.
not the point. The point is, I'm happy to play pretty much anywhere. There's a record store that's about 3.5 hours from here, like a record store, very retro, really cool
Mm.
little place, and they're carrying my CDs, um, and it's a very small little stage, but it's a kind of a like a, what's the word I'm looking for, like a tourist area,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and they'd be interested, but I don't know that. Again, I'm going to take my band 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever,
Yeah.
to a gig on a little stage that it's, probably wouldn't, we'd be in the hole doing it,
Mm.
and it's a lot of preparation for one gig really far. So you
Yeah.
have to plan something bigger than that. But I might do it anyway. Maybe I'll do something with tracks. I mean, some people do that. It's, as
Mm.
long as it's entertaining, I think it'd
Yeah.
be, you
Mm.
know, I thought about that, like if I had something for like a fly gig, what do you do if you? Because my band are great players, but they're all moved. They've all got other bands. They all have,
Mm.
like, I can't. Uh, it seems like, what do I'm going to make them all rehearse all the time, and I can't get a gig. Like,
No, no, it is
it's not fair.
difficult.
So it's like, yeah, maybe I'll do that, and like, hire some dancing girls or something. And I don't mean that in a sexist way. I mean, like, it would be cool. Like, it would be,
Yeah. A surf theme.
entertaining. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, like Rob Zombie or something. Only he
Yeah.
actually has a band, but he's got a bigger budget than I do.
A bigger
Well,
ego as well.
maybe, but I don't know. Rob Zombie's one entertaining cat, though. I'll give him that. It's always got
He's
a
good at
great
what he
band.
does. He is
Yeah.
very good at what he does.
He knows what his
Yeah.
he
His
knows his
market is.
audience. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you do manage to come over to the UK, we would love to see you.
Oh, I hope that would
Maybe
be
it's like
great.
a.
Yeah.
Would you consider doing like a guitar package? You know how they used to do like the G4 sort of things, where or
Yeah,
G3s, and where it's like a series of guitarists all coming on and
right.
doing their bit, and then the jam at the end or something. Would that be something that you'd be into?
Oh, yeah. I mean, geez, I'd have to do some practicing. Yeah. Like, when I've often, like, remember when I was saying earlier, I was afraid to get into this solo instrumental thing because I'm not one of those, like some of these cats are just, but somebody like Satch is a good example, and you can't play instrumental guitar music without tipping the hat to Joe Satriani, right? Whether
Absolutely.
whether he's your cup of tea or not,
Mm.
he kicked down the doors for us.
Yeah,
Really,
he
like
did.
he made it so that it could be played on the radio. Like, what,
Mm.
you know, really? No, I mean that was happening in the like early '60s or late '60s or whatever, but it wasn't happening in like
No.
my lifetime. You know, it was
Mm.
happening before. But Satch opened it up for us. But here's somebody who he's perfect at what he does. He's like, I don't think I've ever heard him make a mistake. He's just great.
Yeah.
Not that mistakes are bad. I mean, perfection is
No.
boring, right?
No.
But what I mean is he is he's just great. I don't know what else to say, but he's not somebody that um, is like over the top intimidating, right? You know what I
No.
mean? He's
No.
playing music. It's about music, not about
Yeah.
fireworks and shred and I don't know. Not that I'm again, all of these players, all this stuff is great. I don't have anything against any of that. But if I'm going to be on like one of those types of tours, I have to know I have to stick to what
Absolutely.
I do and know what I'm doing
Yeah.
and be confident in it.
Mm.
And I don't know. Nobody's asked me yet, but
You never
I would do
know.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the thing with the having that conversation with Sliptrick, joining up with a
Yeah.
label
They
is
can
that
open those kind of doors.
yeah, because it's not changing anything. Like artistically, they're not changing anything that I do. They're, at
No.
least at this point, but they're kind of putting me in a light, like shedding a light that maybe people who are
Yeah.
involved with those things might go, "Who's this person?" Right? That never would have heard of me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
You never know, Darren. You never know.
yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, yeah, because that's it. I think even Satch got sort of discovered by just sending demo
You
tapes
did?
to
Yeah.
guitar magazines and
Yeah.
stuff, and yeah, so,
And Vi, of course, was under the wing of Frank Zappa for quite a while.
yeah, yeah.
So
What a wing! What a wing to be
well,
under.
yeah.
It's
I
like,
mean that. Talk about pressure. I mean, being
yeah,
being on the same stage with Frank Zappa saying, "Throw me a G minor," and then what?
yeah, yeah, and that's something that I'm still I'm not a math person. I don't know what it is. I think my brain doesn't. I'll capture every now and then. I'll really kind of go, okay, I get why this connects, and it's exciting. Like,
Yeah.
oh, particularly as a songwriter more than anything else. But I think I'm not great at improvising. I don't practice it enough. And I think the reason why is every single time I pick up the guitar and I sit down and I go, well, I'm going to practice something, and I just stumble on something that gets my ear kind of going, oh, what's that? And then better get my little recording thing, and I think
It becomes a song. Yeah.
songwriting mode all the time. So it's almost like a means to an end. I'm playing uh, the guitar to be able to you know
Yeah.
let something flow out of me, and I'm one of these people. I had a video where I talked about this on my Patreon channel. Actually, it just hit me. I remember that now. Where um, a lot of times you'll hear people, songwriters, um, writers, anything like that, where they'll say that once in a while, some of them it's once in a lifetime, where something happens where they just start creating something and then
Mm,
it's just done, and then they go, where the hell did that come from? And they feel like it
absolutely.
just flowed through them, and it wasn't them, but it was them.
Mm,
um, I've heard so many people say that, but a lot of them, it's like this spiritual experience that doesn't happen very often. I have this very fortunate. I'm not. I don't take it for granted. I'm really happy because it happens to me a lot.
mm,
Like, and I think it's just because I totally accept it. I just like get the hell out
let
of
it
the
flow.
song. Yeah, the song comes, pulls up and says, "Get in." I jump in and I give directions once in a while, but I'm along for the ride. I just sort of let it go, and then I go, "What the hell? I didn't know that chord. Where did that come from?" And uh, and some people will go, "Well, that's some weird, hippie stuff." But I will say, if anybody thinks that, all you have to do is think, have you ever had a dream? You're asleep and you have a dream and you wake up and go, where did that come from? It's kind of like
It's the
that.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you're awake and it's flowing in a different. You're channeling it or something into something, and
That's spirituality again, isn't it? It's letting
Yeah.
the universe flow through you
Yeah.
in whatever way. Some people it's
Yeah.
it's art, it's painting. Some people it's music. Some people it's poetry.
Yep.
You've just got to let it flow through you, and
If you
when it comes
accept
out
it,
the
it
other end,
works. Yeah.
then, yeah,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
as a guitar player or any musician, like it's the fact, like, I mean, I say, oh, I didn't know that chord, or I didn't know this, or whatever. I mean, the more you know and the more skilled you are, I guess, if you can combine that. Like, if you don't have the ability to play the stuff that's coming through you or whatever, then you're
Yeah.
gonna hit a wall, maybe. I don't know. But I think the more that I know, the better it can flow. But
Absolutely.
I don't think, like I said, I'm not somebody who is really skilled, really trained, I should say, in theory and that. But I know,
You know what you need to know.
yeah, and I'm still learning, and I mean, that's the journey, though. I
Of
had
course
that
it is.
like the first time I met Paul Gilbert. I remember the two things I said to him. Like, I shook his hand, and Paul Gilbert is six
He's a
something,
tall
right?
guy.
I'm 5 feet. I don't know if you know that. A lot of people don't
No,
realize from my video that I'm five. So I have small, and I shook his hand and I went, well, that's not fair. And he's like, what? He's like, I'm like, look, your fingers are literally twice as long as mine. And we just kind of had a laugh about it. And I said, I do okay. It's all right. If I, and it works out. And the other thing is, I learned from him was, because I said, if I played every day, every minute for the rest of my life, I probably won't be the guitar player you were when you were like 21. And he said, and I wasn't saying it like, in a bitter way, or like, we were just kind of having
no,
a
no.
flowing. And he's like, but you don't have to be. Again, be yourself. And it does. It's the journey. It's the enjoyment of the instrument. And I mean, it never left me, because it's really once I kind of embrace that, I've become better. I've become more
Good.
confident, and I've accepted where I am, without ever, because I think that can be really toxic for, singers, creators, musicians, anybody, because music and art and entertainment, it's competitive, but it's also it's just hard to like, you put something you're so passionate about into the world, and sometimes it's just crickets.
Yeah.
And so I realized the most important lesson is that the world doesn't owe me anything, so that's important, and that chances are nobody cares, and that sounds negative, but it's
No,
actually
I know what you
liberating.
mean.
It's very liberating, because it's like, if, what's the worst that can happen is somebody hates it. Well, so
Yeah.
like, what do I care?
Yeah.
You really have to feel that, and that's a good lesson to pass along if somebody is
Absolutely, it is.
trying to put something out in the world that, we, even if I don't like what you're playing, for example, it's not my thing, I don't relate. Musicians can support each other that way. Like,
Yeah.
we don't. And the people who are criticizing you, chances are they're not doing anything. So, like, you know what I mean? They're the people who
I
hate on
certainly
you.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, somebody like Steve Vai isn't commenting on my music videos going, this sucks. Like, I don't think that, he's pretty busy doing his own thing, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and you know,
Darren, it's been fantastic talking to you. And I can talk to you for hours and hours and hours,
I
and
know.
we will definitely do this again. But in the meantime, best of luck with G String Murders EP.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best with it. And if you do any live shows, hit us up.
Oh,
We'll put a link to your
absolutely. Yeah.
Patreon as well. If you let us know all your details, we'll put them all on the YouTube video.
Of course,
And
absolutely.
try not to break too many G strings.
Yeah. Don't go out of tune, at least. I don't know if you'll break them.
Bye, Darren, and take
All
very
right.
good care of yourself.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.